everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, I had several guests. They have a movie that's called The Lost Camp. Just got done shooting. It's going to be hitting the film festival circuit any day. First of all, I have the director, writer, executive producer. Listen, both of you guys are wearing multiple hats in this film. I have with us Connor Eder. Connor, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thanks. Yeah, nice to be here. Interesting podcast.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Next, listen, he's in the movies, acting, also producer, also wearing multiple hats. I have with me today Noel Ramos. Noel, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you, Travis.
It's a pleasure. All right, guys, listen. Let's start off. Connor, I'm going to start off with you. Tell us a little bit about The Lost Camp.
All right, so I would say the original version I wrote when I was like 9. I was a very creative person even back then. But basically, I would say it's a story where I focused on originality, and it had to be a story where the audience actually has to like the characters. You can't root for the characters if you don't like them. At least that's my philosophy. People who read the script in the past compared it to being both like Stranger Things and the new It movies. You know how the last 2 It movies, like they made it part 1 and part 2. And the reason it was compared to those is with Stranger Things and It is because my story, the kids were like hilarious. They're in danger, but like you relate to them. They're like, it's like you actually like the characters. They're not like, oh, I don't care if they get their head cut off, because if they do, there's no stakes at the table because you don't there's no high stakes because you don't care.
Now do you think? I'm sorry. No.
I love the story. I think it's a fun film to watch. From all, like Connor said, from the character development between the different characters in the film, but also the horror aspect of it, the spookiness of it, everything, the vibe we got when we filmed it, the location, the set, the actors were fantastic. They did such a great job. So it really all came together to accomplish everything that Connor was describing just then.
And I agree with what both of you guys are saying. When it comes to horror, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I'm 42 now, I need characters I care about. You know, back in the day when I was a kid, I could watch the Friday the 13th, and they were pretty much cookie cutter characters, and you kind of didn't give a fuck if they, But now I need to care about my characters because, like, I don't like that. I don't like going to a horror movie. I don't know anything about the characters. There's no character development, and they just die, and you're just like, oh, okay, oh well. I need to feel something. I need to feel sad for them, or I need to be like, thank God that person died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good riddance.
Yes. Now, Connie, you wrote this originally when you were 9 years old. Looking back over time, do you see a lot of your, the 9-year-old Connor in this story?
I mean, one thing that's interesting about me, since I was first born, the second I came out of the womb, all the way up till now, I never cared about this concept called rules. Like, oh, it's past your bedtime, all this. Like, what's that? There's no such thing. All right, what I'm trying to say is, so yes, in the story, these kids are sneaking out at late at night. They're somewhere they're not supposed to be. They don't care. They don't care about the rules. So yes, when I wrote it, I mean, I didn't care about the rules either.
Now, Noel, listen, when you saw the script and the concept of this movie, what made you want to be a part of this? What made you want to join?
The characters. I loved the characters and the story itself, but mainly the characters really, especially, the interaction between them, and the premise of the ghost really interested me, especially if I was really excited to be able to play the ghost. So that was even more of a reason. But I really like the story. I'm very, very proud of this film. I think everybody involved did an incredible job and really put their heart and soul into it. And you could tell that it was a labor of love for everybody. and I think that the results were even better than we hoped.
And both of you gentlemen, like I said in the beginning, you both are wearing multiple hats in this movie. Is that exhausting to be director, writer, executive producer, and be acting and producing? Is that a little exhausting?
Yes and no. I mean, from a physical standpoint, yes. From a psychological standpoint, maybe it's subjective, but I feel like if you're on set and you're not doing something, it can seem like you're there all day, where when you're moving around doing stuff, like you're proactive, like it's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. So like, I wouldn't say it doesn't make it feel, it makes it go by quicker, I feel like, when you're wearing multiple hats. You're going to be more tired after, but like, you're not going to be like bored, because being bored itself is like exhausting. So it's like it depends how you look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things about this project that I'm really proud of also is the fact that we prepared. We did so much prep. I'm a big fan of Sidney Lumet and what he called his Lumet method, which was pre-production rehearsals with the actors and the crew. We did a lot of that. We did a lot of planning. We planned all the special effects. We planned the makeup. We planned the blocking. We planned the lighting. We planned the locations. I built the set at my studio, so we had plenty of time to work that out and figure out the different camera angles that we were going to use within the set, how to make the set match the location. So much planning, so much preparation, that when we got to the day, it was smooth and it was enjoyable. But like Connor said, lots of work, really long days, but it's fun when you really want to do it, and it's going as planned. So yeah, it's exhausting, but it's a good exhaustion. It's fun.
Now, how exciting is it to be like, look, to think about? You're like, holy shit, I'm making and in horror movies. I mean, you guys grew up on horror movies. What is it like to be like, boy, this is something that I've watched when I was a kid and growing up, and now I'm doing this.
Honestly, when that really hit me, I mean, I worked in the film industry for 9 years, not as long as Noel, but he's done it longer. Like, I've learned from him while I was making this film. But for a while, a lot of times I was working as a crew member where I'd be helping like set up the equipment and stuff. But ever since I was little, I always wanted to like direct and like produce. And now like actually getting to do this, basically this film had a $13,000 to $14,000 budget because I was doing multiple jobs and stuff. But so basically, when I finally got it all together, reached out to Noel, got actors and crew, got the team together. When we started doing the rehearsals, basically, like, I think it was like twice a week we would have Zoom rehearsals where the actors would come. They would, me and Noel would watch, and sometimes our AD would too. Noel kind of helped like actor coach them during the auditions, and at the not auditions. He was like an actor coach. We had a bunch of great actors. They were young. He coached them because he has years of acting experience, and I focused more on directing towards like getting them to the character that I want them to be, because they had to learn the character. So during the rehearsals, basically, we were taking these really talented actors and we were turning them into the characters that you see in the film. And when I was directing them, like telling them like, hey, when you're doing the scene, I want you to be feeling this, or hey, when this happens, keep in mind that the character was just thinking this, or that this just happened. Like, that's when it really hit me, like, wow, I'm directing a film, and not just directing something, but something that really has potential. It's like I'm making my directing debut and making a directing and it was also like, wow, the people I'm working with are great, because again, like, Noel had years of acting experience. So having him there when I was directing the kids, to get them in a character, having him there where he's able to coach them up if they had, like, issues or not issues, if there was stuff they needed help on, with something. And the crew, too. It's like some of these crew members I worked with on other projects and stuff, just about every crew member on set probably has at least, like, when I was saying I have 9 years of experience, I would say just about every crew member had at least 9 years of experience. And, like, oh my god, like, those kids who are the actors in this film, they're going to be stars someday in, like, something huge. Like, if anything, it's not like they're going to be, oh, I worked on Connor Edder's film. If anything, it's going to be, oh my god, you know that famous actor? He worked on my film. Like every actor and one of the characters too, like the actors and actress in this movie, like they're all great. Like these kids are gonna be like famous someday.
They're gonna be
and someday is in probably like the next 2 years.
Yeah, they're
already getting. They've already been in other stuff, and some like not just like short films, but like actual like I cannot wait to look back in 2 years and then have bragging rights when I could say, oh, you know that person? He was in my film.
You could say you discovered them.
Yes. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say I agree. I have grown up on horror and science fiction, and I'm a big fan. And watching shows like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits and things like that, and movies like some of my favorite horror sci-fi movies like Alien and other films like that. So this was a real treat, being able to do something like this kind of a fantastical, spooky, horrific, character-developed story, a character-driven story. I think that the combination really worked well. And like Connor said, we were so lucky, so fortunate to have such incredible actors. They really came to embody those characters. During the rehearsal process, we couldn't stop like talking about it, how good they were doing and how well they were embodying the characters. They just took to it so well, and they built a relationship between themselves as well. So there was great interaction between them. And once we started filming, it was like they were lifelong friends. It was as if they really had these relationships. It was so real. So super proud of this whole thing, and super proud of everybody that's involved with it.
Love it. Now, Nelson, you guys have seen tons of horror movies. You guys have worked on several horror movies. There's some horror filmmakers out there that say that the emphasis of getting good actors or actresses for your movie is not important. Most horror fans want to see blood, gore, the scare. And why do you think there's some filmmakers that don't think that it's not a big deal to get good actors in a horror movie because it's not important to horror fans?
So I feel like there was an era, like, unfortunately, there was a time period that wasn't that great for horror. I mean, it might have been great for some teenager watching it, but it wasn't great in terms of quality of film. I mean, because this basically started after the original Friday the 13th, which was actually a really suspenseful movie. It wasn't even Jason Voorhees killing the people; it was his mom. It wasn't like the other ones. Like the original Friday the 13th movie was like, it was like the perfect definition of suspense, throwing things at you while sticking to the elements. But then some of the later ones, I believed, unless I'm wrong, but from my understanding, Miramax or Harvey Weinstein, like, his company picked up some of the later ones, and I know that's true for the Halloween films. Like the original Halloween film was really good, but some of the sequels were terrible. It's apparently when Miramax and Harvey Weinstein started getting involved in funding the films, they cared more about like attractive actresses, and like they basically exploited it. Like they made the movies like really like sexual or really violent, like took away from the whole suspense thriller concept. It was more like sex, violence. That was, unfortunately, people basically turned the horror industry into something else. But fortunately, I feel like it's been coming back to suspense. I mean, I feel like when the Conjuring films came out, I feel like when Insidious came out, those went back to the whole suspense, something being thrown at you. There might be some blood and stuff, but it wasn't like it went back to what horror originally was: suspense and like a plot.
Yeah, I think that it may not be just the horror genre that suffers from that sort of thing, but we also have to think about this from the perspective of independent films, low budget independent films, and major Hollywood movies. For a low budget independent producer, it's more likely that they're going to find actors who aren't as talented because they can't afford to hire actors that have been working for a long time. So there's a very good chance they're going to find actors who are less experienced, who are looking for a way to get some film exposure. So that's one of the factors for a low budget independent film. We got lucky. Our actors are, major feature actors. They're that talented. So for us, we didn't have that problem, but I think that it may be less of the case of the producer director doesn't want good actors, and more like they just can't afford good actors. They have to deal with novice actors or less experienced actors because they don't have the budget. For major feature films that go that route, budget might be an issue there too. If they're trying to make a low budget film, then that might be part of the aesthetic they're looking for. If it's a slasher movie, for instance, they probably aren't as interested in character development and the plot. They're more interested in the effects and how can we make the goriest kills and that sort of thing. So, but if you go back to like the masters, like Hitchcock, for example, that was all about the characters and all about the story and the suspense and the drama and the interaction between those characters. So yeah, having top-notch actors was important for him. But there's a big range of films in the horror genre. You can go from your really low-dose show that's just all about gory effects all the way up to your high-end suspense drama. And you've got all kinds of different films in between there. Science fiction horror, slasher, all of those different subgenres. So I think it's a multi-leveled question. And I would like to think that most producer directors want to find good actors.
And honestly, I've noticed that some of the best suspense horror films, the originals were independent films, because as an independent filmmaker, you don't really have the money to go do you could do good special effects, but you can't do like some of the Hollywood like stuff. You can't go do some Fast and the Furious scene, which that's not really a horror thing anyway, but you get the point. It's like you have to keep it simple. So instead of going crazy special effects, you're going crazy, make sure I have a good story. Like, again, the original Friday the 13th movie, the original Halloween, they were both independent films. And they were both really good, leading to them having their own series, which the later ones weren't that good. Weren't as good. But they had like 10 times the budget, because you had people jumping in, throwing money, and then they changed the direction. The original, like the John Carpenter original Halloween film, I think the budget was $200,000, I believe. And you only had a couple actors, a couple actresses with you had like a couple actresses, a couple actors, a very small, minimal. You didn't have that many settings. It was like they kept it simple and they focused on suspense. Which Friday the 13th, I feel like definitely had a higher budget than that. But like,
Yeah.
Still, it was they had to focus on the story. They couldn't do some of the stuff they were able to do in the later movies, but I didn't think the later movies were as good. I mean, when you focus on the plot, that's when a film reaches its potential, and independent films tend to do that the best because the directors aren't trying to go fast and furious. They aren't trying to do the impossible. They're trying to take the possible and do it the best that they can.
And I agree with you say. I mean, even I'm gonna throw another one in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is on the wall. But like, I mean, that was made with nothing. And you know, the original Halloween, which I was my favorite horror movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's hardly no gore at all in those movies, but it has terrifying characters, great atmosphere, and decent acting. I mean, especially Halloween with Donald Pleasant and Jamie Lee Curtis for that, who are two amazing actors for that low a budget, and they became bigger over time. But like, those movies didn't have a whole bunch of special effects and gore, but they were terrifying as hell.
I mean, yeah, I noticed. I think the later Halloween movies did have more gore, but I mean that goes with my point. The first one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was more the fact that Mike Myers was about to stab you. Where the later ones, it would be, oh, how much blood came out after he got stabbed. Like there's a difference. Like the first one, oh, he's about to kill you. Like, it's scary. Like when it comes to suspense, like that was something that was really like important in this film. Like I didn't like want someone to like be that typical, oh, it's going to end this way or this way. Like, one thing I could say with confidence is that I'm 100% sure completely that whoever watched the end of the film did not know it was going to end that way when they first got there. I mean, when they first started watching it, compared to a lot of films where you know how it's going to end.
Awesome. All right, so listen, I'm going to ask you guys one question, and I'm going to ask you some hard questions, okay? The first question, Noel, I'm going to start with you. What is one positive thing about working with Connor that you're like, whoa, that's one characteristic or trait that I wish I had? And Connor, I'm going to ask you the same thing about Noel.
Connor's super creative. One of the most fun things that I enjoyed was doing some script doctoring with him. And we got together online and used the Celtics program to make some tweaks to the script. And I really enjoyed the process because it was just pure creativity. So I was really impressed with his creativity and his drive. He was going to get this done no matter what.
And Connor?
So I liked a lot of things. One thing I liked is I liked how experienced Noel was, because like at times I had questions, like when I was directing the actors. One thing that was huge was I feel like at the beginning, I felt like at the beginning when I directed the kids, part of me, when I wanted them to do it a certain way, it's like I would just show them. But no, I would be good at, it's like, Connor, don't be the actor, direct the actor. Because I would almost like want to act out the scene to show them how, but he was very big on like, don't be the actor, direct the actor how to do it, which is actually huge, because other directors I know told me they used to have that thing where like their way of telling they would try to act out the scene to show the actor how to do it. But the problem with doing that is, since the director's not an actor, it's like the actor then might try to do it the way the director did. But it's like, basically Noah told me, like, tell the actor like how like the character is supposed to view it, how the character is supposed to feel, but let them use their acting expertise where you guide them into the character. Like, that's where it's great that he was an acting coach, because he was able to coach me and the actors. But I really liked that he was well-rounded, had experience in multiple roles. What I really liked was his production design skills, because the first day we went and we actually shot at this place that used to be, I believe it used to be a Girl Scout camp. I'm not sure what type of camp it was, but but that's where we shot it. Where But the second production day we shot in a studio, and in the studio we had to go build a room and make it look exactly like one of the places that was in the camp. And so Noel built this like fake room, and if you were the audience, you wouldn't know the difference between the room he built in the studio versus the room that was at the campsite. Like, it looked exactly the same.
I actually myself watching the footage after Paul Stamper, our editor, showed us some clips. I was watching the footage. I was like, wait a minute, is that the set or is that the camp?
It was that good. Wow. So,
Yeah, like
sorry.
I wouldn't have known the difference if I wasn't there filming it. I mean,
So
it
what-
looked exactly the same, like exactly. Like, oh my god, like I'm impressed.
So, what was one thing that each one of you learned from this project that you were like, "Wow, this really carried over"? This turned out so great. I'm definitely going to carry this over to the next project. And what was one thing that you were like, "Oh hell no, that turned out horrible. We're not going to do that again."
So that's a good question. The first part, one thing I want to carry over is I would definitely want to bring the same cast and crew. They were awesome. In terms of carrying over, one thing I would try to do is I would try to maybe try to find a way in a budget where if you can add an extra day, because we had the first day was a 16-hour shoot. The second production day was a 14-hour shoot. And yes, we took safety very seriously, but when you're working that many hours with a small number of people doing a lot of roles, like someone can get hurt. Like no one got hurt, but what I'm saying is, what I learned from that is, especially if you have a small number of people doing a lot of tasks, to try if you have the money to fill in an extra production day, add another production day, because if you're working that long, something can happen. It didn't, but like I feel like there was times where like someone easily could have gotten hurt, especially the first production day, because I mean, yeah, again, it was a 16-hour shoot. Like when we got there, it was light out. When we left, it was really dark out. I mean, like, yeah, if you're able, I would say like, say if another production day would mean another couple thousand, maybe make the couple extra thousand, then make the movie. Which, I mean, that's not always the case. Money matters, but that's what I got out of it. It's like, okay, maybe I could have had a third production day. Like no one got hurt, but I mean, I feel like at times someone could have, because we were working so hard and so long. We had a lot we had to get done in a small amount of time, and we did it. We nailed it. It came out perfect. But from a safety perspective, I would say I probably should have saved up a couple more grand and then maybe made it a little bit later just for safety purposes.
I think that in terms of safety, we were on top of our game. Safety was a major concern, and we paid much attention to it. We prepped for it. We talked about it constantly in the pre-production phase, in all the rehearsals, and knowing what we were going to do once we got to the set, to the location, really made it safer than if we got there and we didn't know what we were doing. So all of that rehearsal, all of that prep time, that's my answer to what I'm definitely going to carry forward. Huge fan of Sidney Lumet, and I think that all movies should have rehearsals. I don't know why they don't. It's probably a money thing, but you know, getting the cast and crew together and doing multiple rehearsals in pre-production is huge for so many reasons, safety being one of them. but also just building that relationship between the cast members and between the cast and crew, working out all the details of the blocking and the camera moves and the lighting, and talking about the wardrobe and the makeup and all the special effects. All of that prep time really worked. So that's what I'm definitely going to bring to every production I work on. What wouldn't I do again? That's a good question. Probably try to sleep more. Didn't get much sleep.
That helps. Yeah.
That was a problem.
I bet it was. I mean, 16-hour or 14-hour day, those are long days.
Well, that's just production day. Keep in mind, I was working months ahead of this.
And honestly, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'll finish quick. I was just going to say, building the set, some of those days were like almost 18, 20-hour days. So I wasn't getting much sleep.
And the reason it didn't take like twice as long is because of those rehearsals, because like those, like at that point, like those kids, like they knew everything. Like on the production days, like I didn't really need to direct them. It's like I did all the directing during pre-production, getting them into character. At this point, they were so much into character, they were so perfect. It was basically kind of like a do your thing. Like so, and unfortunately, like what Noah was saying, a lot of films and shows now don't really do that much acting rehearsals anymore. Like, which was something that I was surprised on when I worked on some shows when I was younger. Rehearsals nowadays, when you're on set, a rehearsal refers to what's called a camera rehearsal, which that's not really the actor getting in a character. That's more, okay, just play the scene out a couple of times so the camera operator knows when to turn the camera, so the AC knows when to put a piece of tape on the ground to know where the actor is going to stand, like stuff like that. So it's like the actor's not really getting in a character. The rehearsal's more just for the crew. So I mean, which I think is crazy that a lot of films and shows don't do a lot of actor rehearsals anymore. So it's like, okay, even if the crew shots and stuff are great, it's like if it doesn't look real, like then I mean, yeah, it's like the actor's got to get in character, which means you have to do acting rehearsals. Maybe that's why. I mean, like I don't know, like I feel like some of the older horror films, the acting was kind of better because, like, again, that was the age where like story, not, oh, look at that money shot, look at like this. Like, fortunately, we took that me and Noah really emphasized the whole getting the actors in a character. We've had, again, we were having rehearsals twice a week on Zoom where it was the kids acting. So I mean, the directing was really, in a way, I almost considered directing the actors as almost like a pre-production thing, because on set, I mean, only a couple times would I have to be like, all right, do that a little bit this way or do that again, except because for the most part I didn't really need to do that because the kids were already in a character. They were perfect. Like they knew their ins and outs. Like they knew the character as if like the characters like walked out of the script themselves.
And they were so totally off book. They had the lines down so well that we didn't even need to do many takes. And Travis, this goes back to your point about not having good actors. Sometimes it's not a question of the actors aren't good. It's a question of they didn't have rehearsals. So a lot of these movies, they have like their A-list actor, like Bruce Willis was doing that for a while. They would hire him for the day. Mm-hmm. And he was like the lead actor. He was the money guy. He was going to bring eyeballs to the film. He'd come in, never having met the actors, never having rehearsed with them. He'd film for the day, and then he'd leave. So how do you build characters up? How do you develop your characters? How do you develop those relationships between your lead actor and all the supporting actors if they've never even talked to each other?
You see a lot of that in indie movies in general, horror and action. Bruce, like you say, Bruce Willis was doing that. Mel Gibson is doing that now. Like he's eating Steven Seagal. All
Eric Robertson. You know, he's like in all of these low budget movies, and they pay him to show up for the day. He shows up on
the same. He's the same character in every movie. He's literally the same. Pretty bad about that, but yeah. I mean, it's yeah. And then when you get a movie where you have like 3 of them, then I mean, it's a total shit show. It looks like they just read the script. Yeah. So I agree. One last question. I'm going to test each on one of your knowledge of each other. Connor, I'm going to start with you. What is Noel's favorite horror film? Do you know that?
I would say it was probably one of the films made by. He keeps referencing that director, like that has that method where they focus on acting rehearsals, like the method that you keep referring. Like I don't know the name of the director.
He didn't do horror movies though.
Oh, I would say I'm gonna guess that it's one of the Friday the 13th films, but I don't know which one. I don't know.
Is that correct?
No, I think Alien is probably my favorite horror movie because it's sci-fi and horror, and man, it was freaking scary.
It was.
Jeez, and even the sequels were good. I mean, how often do you get that? You know. So, I think it's Alien. But if I had to go old school, Psycho.
The original slasher. No, I'm asking you the same question about Connor. Do you know what?
I know Connor's favorite horror movie.
What is it?
It's The Lost Camp.
No, yeah, definitely that is. But not counting The Lost Camp, what's my favorite horror movie?
Oh,
one that I didn't make.
You talked about a few horror movies. I'm gonna say it's got to be Halloween.
Nope.
No.
Actually, there's a tie. The first Conjuring film and the first Insidious film.
Wow, those you didn't really mention those as we were working.
I mean, I feel like those brought horror back. As I was saying, like those ones are more horror, suspense, throwing stuff at you again. Like it goes back to what horror originally was in terms of the whole suspense, be scary shit, not be bloody, disgusting. Like.
And the camera work, by the way, on Insidious and Insidious 1 is absolutely fucking amazing.
It is.
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean...
James Wan did the first 2 Insidious, or did he just do the first one?
Who?
James Wan?
He
did he just do the first one or both of them? I
thought he did the Conjuring films. Or did he do Insidious?
I think he did... I think he did it first. I know he did it first, Insidious. I don't know if it was the second. Let me see. I'm going to look at Google real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But the way James Wan uses camera angles is absolute. Yes, he did the first one. I don't know about the second one. He did the second one. Yes, he did the first 2. Yeah. But yeah, because James Wan has a unique way of he uses the camera so that you can see what he wants you to see, and in a way it's locked in that you can see something but you can't see all of it, and that's frightening.
He's like that with not even just horror. Like he directed Fast and the Furious 6, I believe. Yes. Or the 7th one, or either the 6th or the 7th. One of them, like there's a scene where like the car's covered, and I think he has Vin Diesel just walk up, just take like when the car's covered, he just takes his hand and just like I think just throws the cover off. But he does like the way he does it is like really cinematic, like what you were talking about with the angles, like taking something that like yes. It seems like he envisions a shot from a certain angle, so when he tells the actor to do something, he's doing it thinking how would it look at this angle. So it's not even as much just the actor acting. It's like the actor's basically doing cinematography.
Because I mean, I'm only going on James Wan, but he did an action movie with Kevin Bacon, and it was like a Death Wish type movie, action movie. Can't think of the name of it. But there's a fight scene that's happening on a garage, and I watched the behind the scenes, and he literally has someone on the camera with on a skateboard sliding from level to level. And I can't think of the name of the movie, but it's just beautifully shot.
Death Sentence?
Yes, Death Sentence. Yes.
I like Kevin Bacon.
I do. I love Stir of Echoes too. That's an underrated horror movie. Stir of Echoes.
Or he was great as the Invisible Man.
He was great as Invisible Man.
That was a creepy movie.
Yes.
I think that was a good remake.
Yes,
I agree. So.
And unfortunately, that came out during COVID. I saw it in theaters during COVID, but I think COVID killed that movie. And speaking of James Wan, Malignant, COVID definitely killed Malignant. And Malignant is a beautiful movie. If you haven't seen it,
I've seen that one. Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, there was like no one in the movie theater. Like, yeah, that was the whole COVID era. Like,
Connor, are you trying to hide from us? We can barely see you.
I know the camera on my
lower and lower.
The camera on my computer just keeps.
Eyes.
All right, that one's better.
Eyes at some point. Yep. All right, guys. All right, Noel. I'm sorry. You. Where can everyone find you?
NoelRamos.com.
All right, that was easy. Connor, where can everyone find you?
I'm starting my own production company, so CJEProductionsLLC.com.
Awesome. And where can everyone keep updated about the Lost Camp?
On our Facebook page, you could just type in the Lost Camp, it will show up, and we're going to be putting updates about like festivals.
Sweet.
I mean, yeah, we'll be putting updates. So like for those who, in case like if anyone wants to go, I mean, like if there's one in Boston, or something, or one in New York, or I mean, it's going to be a couple, but it's like, I mean, yeah, if you follow the Facebook page, if you want, I mean, I don't care, but if you do, it's all good. I mean, find out where the festivals are. I mean, find out when they are, because like we're going to be showing at some good festivals, and they're a lot of fun.
Of course we care.
Course,
we actually have a really nice group of people in the Facebook group. They've been super supportive, so it's been awesome.
Love it. Well, I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. So, like, if you come around this area, I would definitely check it out.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Travis. You had said that you were going to play the trailer as part of this, and also the clip that I uploaded for you. Can we talk a little bit about the trailer before?
Yes, actually, I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer right as we speak.
Very cool. We've got over 3,500 views on Facebook already, and over 300 on YouTube. So we're almost at the 4,000 mark, which I think is fantastic.
Nice. That's absolutely amazing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play the trailer.
Christian, if I'm going to defend you effectively, you need to be honest with me.
I already told you what happened.
No jury is going to buy your story. You have to at least be realistic if you want me to create a convincing defense.
Hey, Christian, how'd you know this was here?
I just had a hunch.
You know who that is, right?
I can't read the name.
Former cavalry in the Civil War. They say he made millions.
My chain. Help me look. Guys, something doesn't feel right.
Truth lies in the dark.
Dustin's already gone.
Dustin!
I can't lose it.
We gotta get the hell out of here.
It was Rock Jones!
Now it's your turn to be trapped. Shame about your mama. Those fancy new driving machines sure are dangerous. I reckon she should have been more careful.
What did you say?
Fucking help me!
Don't worry about him. I'll take care of him after. That's not the fight now. You were right quick.
That particular scene was probably one of the more difficult shots that we had to accomplish because we weren't exactly sure how to make the transformation work. So it took a lot of brainstorming and suggestions from everybody, and that was a super team effort. But I think the finished product really worked. I think it accomplished everything we wanted to see in the scene, with the spirit leaving the dead body and taking over the new body. It was creepy, and it was gross, and it was scary, and I was really thrilled with the results.
It's absolutely amazing. Now, listen, by the way, do you guys mind if I also put down in the YouTube description box right now for everybody to check it out and share as well?
That's
Sure.
fine.
Also,
Sure.
so listen, also down in the description, I hope you enjoyed that trailer. It looks absolutely amazing. But down in the description box too, there's going to be down there a link. So feel free to share, like, subscribe, comment as well. All right, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce. That's Connor and Noel. We'll see you next time. Take care.